All right, good evening, everyone. I just want to introduce you to Anne Brill. I've met her before a couple times there. She's come into the office and spoken to us on a couple of different subjects. So we invited her in again tonight to come and speak to us. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
out.
you so much. I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
No worries. So
Thank
just let me
you.
know when
Hi,
you want to get
everyone.
started.
Yeah. Okay. So I have no control.
I know. So let me
Okay.
know. You want me to start sharing it or did you want
Whenever, yeah, whenever you're ready, you can
Okay, I'll go
start.
to your presentation there then. Okay. So that's the beginning of it. You can just let me know and just scroll along. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so everyone, I'm actually a principal broker. I own the brokerage with about 25 agents that work for me as mortgage agents. And I'm sure for you guys, there's a lot of change, frustration from yourselves, from your clients. So people are really feeling, whether it's a first-time property investor, you're feeling, what do I do? Intimidated, anxious, uncertain. Can I get into the market? Is it too crazy right now? Are things going to go down tomorrow? I mean, and nobody knows. But at the end of the day, I'm a true believer in, if you're able to get into the market, I would do it sooner rather than later. Okay. Next slide. So this is who I am when I'm all done up. So I've been doing this for a very, very long time. I've been Mortgage Broker of the Year in 2018, and a lot of awards in the industry. I'm very known in the industry. I have access to a lot of lenders. I'm very creative. I have your AAA lenders. I have your B lenders, bruised credit, income doesn't confirm on paper in the traditional sense. Private money, we have everything. So if a deal makes sense, there's no reason for us not to be able to put it together. Cool, great. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, we can do it at the end. We can do it it doesn't matter, so that's fine. So the biggest thing right now is tapping into your existing client, your database, and trying to see if they're able to buy that first rental property. So how do I get in there? And just to see if it makes sense for your clients to do that. It is a little more difficult because the government has put a little more difficulties in terms of we need bigger down payments. For a rental property, it is 20% down. But at the end of the day, this can help. Instead of your client putting more money towards different kind of investments, this is another way of investing for them. And they can look at potentially, early retirement, travel, putting their kids through school, whatever their goal is at the end of the day. But it's at the end of the day, we're all trying to build that net worth, and buying a rental property is one good way to do that. I don't know what you guys sell out there. Obviously, there's lots of things available, and we do financing and everything. So if it's a single unit condo, even like, I've done 380 square feet financing. Your single family residential, any multi-unit residential. So we do commercial, industrial, and like apartment buildings. I've done a lot of apartment buildings in case, and it doesn't have to be a ton of doors. So anything less than 4 doors is still considered residential. Anything over 4 doors is commercial. They are doable. We do have lenders that love multi-residential places. So where's this money coming from? Obviously, the house market is so expensive nowadays. 20 points is a lot of money. And that's what we're here for, helping your clients plan and budget and determining where that money is coming from. It doesn't have to be your money. Like maybe someone can help you out. Maybe parents are giving you, what, here's my early inheritance. We actually sit down and we help determine the clients. So if you have a client who says to you, I'm ready to buy something, or I want to see if I can afford to buy something. So when you send someone over to us, we take that relationship, very important. So you would be on top of everything. So before you spend lots of time, I can sit down and say, you know what, these people qualify for this kind of purchase price. And at least when you go out there with your client, you're not wasting your time. We know exactly what we qualify for, and it's not even sometimes only what they qualify for, but what they want to afford at the end of the day. Cool. So we can look at refinancing. So right now, I mean, you may have clients who, and a lot of people are, may have a very low rate on their mortgage, but they have unsecured, secured credit cards, unsecured lines of credit, a lot of debts, a lot of credit cards from various department stores. There's lots going on there. So at the end of the day, you have to look at your overall cost of borrowing and your overall cash flow. So if we can take an existing client who has good equity in their homes, like a lot of people do nowadays, if they've had a house for more than 3 years, we can look at maybe refinancing, cleaning them up internally. So cleaning up all their any debts outside of their mortgage, as well as pulling out enough money to buy that other property. So buying a rental property, maybe pulling money out to do renovations, and then their value goes up a little bit more and we have some more equity there to play with. So whatever it is at the end of the day that your clients are looking for, we're here to help. But a lot of people, like I said, do have equity. Buying a house, okay, I mean, obviously you guys are, I'm assuming, all over Ontario, or you do in the core, but your Scarborough office right now, an average no big deal bungalow is going for $1 million all day long. And it's hard. Bungalows are obviously very much sought after because they, older people like the bungalow idea versus, I guess, the 2-story. But there's a lot of equity in a lot of these people's homes, and a lot of these people have owned the homes for a lot of years. So if we can show them ways to make money using their money, this is what we're here for. So what we help them do is determine what really is involved in buying a rental property, down payment, your closing costs. Now, land transfer tax, obviously, when we're looking at potentially buying something in Scarborough, you have the double land transfer tax. But at the same time, you may convince your client, you know what? You can move out to Whitby potentially, and it's only one tax on the land transfer side, not two. We look at when they buy a property, do they need immediate renovations? Because we can do a purchase plus some renovations. We take into account vacancies, because you never want to get someone who lives paycheck to paycheck, where if something goes wrong, the tenant has to leave, they're literally stuck on paying their mortgage. We don't want that. The cost of insurance is always a little more expensive when it's a rental property. And at the end of the day, I mean, one property, most people will not even bother with property management. But when you've built a portfolio, that's also a cost that you might want to take into consideration if you don't want to be, if you want to be more of a passive investor and have a property management company do that for you. Obviously, there's a cost involved. So it just depends, when you get that portfolio large enough, is it worth your while? So roadmap to property investment ownership. So really it's securing your down payment, finding the property, and analyzing cash flow. So we actually do your return, for clients, a return on investment. So some places I've done just recently, actually, a little more north. So maybe values aren't as high. It was actually very north. But the return on investments, their rents were very high. It was a triplex, not a very expensive place, but insurance, the cost of the mortgage, and the rents that they're getting was very worth the dollar. Finalizing, closing, and financing. I mean, we can group everything together for you guys, help you with getting appraisers, getting lawyers that will close the deals as we need to, and protecting everyone involved. We completely quarterback the entire transaction if you need us to. Sourcing out tenants and creating lease agreements. Obviously, I guess a lot of you people could say to someone, you know what, we can list it. I guess you guys do the MLS listing where looking for tenants. We can help with lease agreements if you need it, creating a schedule to check on the property, and at the end of the day, take all your money to the bank. So at the end of the day, not every property cash flows, but nowadays with rents, if you get a decent tenant, you know what, at the end of the day, even if you're breaking even, you're building that cash flow. And then on top of them paying down your mortgage, obviously, you know what, 3 to 5, 10 years down the road, that market value should have increased and increase your net worth at the end of the day. So it does make sense if you can do this to do it today. So once again, refinancing your home, you'll look at the entire picture. We want to save on your overall cost of borrowing. I have clients that come in here all the time and say, well, my interest rate is at this bank at very low. I said, yeah, but you also have $100,000 unsecured. You also have, you know what, maybe a line of credit, 8%, maybe credit cards at 19%. When you look at putting everything all together, it does give you an overall reduction in your cost of borrowing, which is the goal. But as well, it also, by taking a line of credit or a credit card and putting it into your mortgage, cash flow is dramatic. Rule of thumb, $10,000 on a credit card is a $300 monthly payment. $10,000 on a mortgage works out to roughly $45 a month. So if you're already hurting cash flow and we can move some stuff around, you might be able to have some extra cash flow to do other things in life that you want to do. And in turn, refinancing your home and buying that investment property and building that net worth. So some examples this is a real example here. I had a client that had an outstanding mortgage of $520,000 at a rate of 3.09 on a 30-year amortization for a 5-year term. So their monthly principal and interest payments were $2,210. They had a line of credit. They had, which typically is 3% of the outstanding. So most lenders, unsecured lines of credits or credit card are usually 3% of the outstanding. So when you add everything up, they're paying $3,290. A lot of people don't even realize that's $1,000 a month more, right? An unsecured debt. So the next thing is once we refinance them, the next slide. So we refinanced them, cleaned everything up, gave them the money to pay for a penalty with their existing lender, the legal fees, the cost of the appraisal, and maybe do a variable rate mortgage, which right now prime is 2.45%. June, the government has not changed the rates. So, I mean, anything's possible tomorrow, but for today, the rate, and I mean, it depends on, nowadays, it's not just a straight rate. It depends on loan to value. So if you have a client who has a lot of equity, we might be able to do prime minus 95.95%. But if you look at combining everything all together, so the principal and the interest for everything, so all their debts, the cost of doing the refinance, I'm saving them a ton of money. And truthfully, the earlier example where they were actually in that situation, I'm going to bring them down by 5 years amortization, and their payments are virtually the same, taking away all their unsecured debt and reducing the amortization by 5 years. So a lot of people, it sounds great. You know what? Look, you work at, I don't know, Rogers, and your credit's 800 and everything is perfect, and that's great, and that can be done. But there's a lot of people out there, ourselves included, like we're all self-employed, commissioned salespeople. And although we might make a dollar, we probably show a dime. So you have B lenders or alternate kind of lenders who also consider not your net income based on your notice of assessment, but they actually consider your gross income. So let's say you're looking at yourself. Let's say last year you grossed with Remax $110,000, but by the time you have an accountant that knows how to do certain deductions and everything else, you're showing 35,000. And you're not going to be able to qualify. And even at a B rate with a 1% lender fee, the cash flow savings is still over $700 per month for you. Like $700 pays for a lot of bills, right? It's a lot of money. And also your overall cost of borrowing also comes down, and it just simplifies life sometimes, right? So you don't have 4 payments, you have 1 mortgage payment. And at the end of the day, we can also work towards, you know what, let's do this for a year. And next year, if you show this much money, I can bring you back to the A side. Something what you really want to consider though, when you are self-employed and you do strong deductions against your income, is you don't want any triggers, truthfully, to Revenue Canada. So you can't do 1 year you're showing 100,000, your line 150, or now they call it 150,000 line, but on your notice of assessment net income, and then the year later you show 30 again. They're going to audit you. Like, it just, you got to be careful, right? You don't want anyone. You want to keep things somewhat consistent. At the same time, you show $100,000 to get a great rate on a mortgage. What's your tax liability? It's heavy. So I can help weigh, is it worth paying the income tax, or is it worth paying a little bit higher fee, right? So we can weigh those for you and see what makes the most sense. So obviously when you go to, I mean, I'm sure you guys have this already, but you want to build that team. So you're the realtor, you get a good mortgage broker or a team that will help you, lawyers, accountants, if your clients want property managers, home inspectors, contractors, insurance brokers, you want to really quarterback the entire relationship. The more connection you have with all of this and the more your clients use you, you're quarterbacking the whole thing. They're always going to come to you with something. So if something goes wrong with, let's say, the property manager, they decide they're not doing this anymore, they're coming back to you. It's an opportunity to have your client always come back to you as your main point of contact for everybody involved. And we help secure that. I mean, we have appraisers. I mean, I do a lot of business, truthfully, and I do have lawyers, I do have appraisers, I have people that can do sometimes, like, no one's losing their job for me, but you know what, a little bit of a stretch. People can, I mean, I can close a deal if I had to. I don't want to, but I can close a deal in 24 hours if I had to. We have private lenders that things happen sometimes. I'm sure you guys have come across deals where the bank 3 days prior to closing has said, sorry, I don't want nothing to do with this deal anymore for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, you're scrambling because your client can get sued. Your client can get sued, you can get sued, everybody involved can get sued. So if we have to, I'm telling you, I've closed a deal in 24 hours. It's not cheap, but it gets the job done. So it gets your client the key the day of closing. And then, you know what, we do something for like a 2 or 3 month term, and then we have the time to breathe and get them into a proper institution. But it gets the job done. We can do that. We have access to the monies and we can do that. So at the end of the day, really analyzing your numbers, so you want to look at when you're talking to your clients, you know, when someone says, you know, I really don't want the GTA because I don't want to pay the double land transfer tax. You want to look at the rental rates in the area. That's something you guys do as realtors. How much can you rent this place for? What are the expenses going to be? And how to properly calculate cash flow, which in turn would be your rate of return on investment. And that's something I can help with as well. Your mortgage, obviously principal and interest. Yes, it's deductible. The interest portion is deductible. Your property taxes, your utilities, insurance, vacancy, and truthfully, vacancy, it really is when it's not really, is it going to happen? It's going to happen eventually. We typically put in about 4% for vacancies. At the end of the day, you always want your client to have a backup. Someone leaves abruptly. I mean, look at COVID, right? So you have a couple of rental properties, and at the end of the day, your tenant can't pay. This is your house. You're not going to let it go, right? So, and I know a lot of lenders out there did extend or not take payments for a few months, but there's none of that anymore, right? So they want you to pay. And obviously if you're able to pay, you pay, but you always want to have a backup. When you have your own house, typically people will say have 3 to 6 months of backup. You want the exact same thing for this. So each property should have its own backup in case something goes wrong. And then obviously repairs and maintenance. It's not, I mean, I personally do own a few rental properties. At the end of the day, everyone looks for something a little different. For me, I'd rather charge them a little bit less, but they don't bother me, right? If something like, if a light bulb goes out, they do it themselves. If, they cut the grass, they do the snow. For me, I just take care of the property. I don't want the headache of that. So you know what? I typically could have charged maybe a little bit more rent with someone different, but it's a different type of headache, and it's just not, for me, not worth the time. So, but we do the full analyzing. At the end of the day, you want to make sure your clients can afford this, and the area they want to look at, it makes sense. Right now, you might say $3,000 renting a house in Scarborough, and they say, well, you know what? I might as well go to Oshawa. Well, Oshawa might not be the same rents. So, all right. So are you feeling any better now? Energized, excited, awakened? So we are here. So like I said, the next screen over gives me all my contact information. Please feel free and reach out to me. We also have a very good, I've white labeled this, which I can share with all of you. It is relinks. It is what we do is when we do a mortgage, we input all your clients' information in there. It is no cost to them whatsoever. So what they do is we put an address. Let's say they bought a property in Oshawa. This system allows your clients to find movers, to change Canada Post address, to find local contractors, local anything you need. It's an entire link, and like I said, including like Canada Post. Sometimes it takes forever just to find those links, especially if you're not tech savvy on the computer, to find the right links and changing your address. We do this for them at no cost whatsoever. Like they want to find a landscaper. So your client buys a property and like, I got to find, a local landscaper in Oshawa. They can do that. It's all on that program. And once again, I'm in the office. I'm not very far from you guys. If you guys want to reach out to me and ask me specific questions for yourselves, for your clients, I said, I have no problem going through scenarios for you guys. But really at the end of the day, especially when you're sitting down with a client, you want to make sure you have a qualified client in front of you, and I can help you do that.
Excellent, excellent. Does anybody have any questions for Anne so far? I'm going to stop the share here so I can see
Thank you.
everybody. Does anybody have any questions for her so far? Anybody in the office?
I did have questions, but I think I'll just contact.
Yeah, no, it's good. Ask them else and everybody
Please,
can hear
feel
the
free.
answers. Yeah, then we can all talk about it.
It's a bit general, but like, what are some of the other red flags to avoid getting audited and stuff?
For when you're doing your
Getting
income?
audited.
He was just wondering about the red flags getting audited. You were saying,
Well, you know what? Look, I've had, okay, you don't want any major changes unless you change a career. So let's say up until now you're in IT and you always showed 40,000 in your line 150 notice of assessment, and then you change careers. Okay, that's different. But if you're a realtor for the past 5 years and you've always shown 50,000 net, and then all of a sudden, now at the same time, your gross can go up as long as you can justify it. It's fine. And truthfully, the government's not going to come after you if you say last year I made 50 and this year I made 90. They want that because they're going to collect more income taxes. But the year later, to go back to the 50, they might question you there. So if you're going to consistently, you want to be able to be somewhat consistent. Like I said, as a mortgage broker, I too am independent and a commission salesperson. And look at some years, this year has been a huge year for us. I might actually show more income taxes personally. And then maybe next year my gross has come down, so I show a little bit less. But you don't want a huge increase. right? Unless you can justify why, right? You had a huge increase. Like you may have sold a house for, I don't know, $10 million and your commission on that is huge. Next year, you may not have a house for 10 million. As long as you can justify what you're showing gross and net, you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody online there have a question for Anne? Are you working with any investor clients right now? What's the interest rate we're looking for on refis right now?
Refinances, it depends if it's insurable. Actually, I'm sorry, it's not insurable. Refinances are no longer insurable. My apologies. It depends on loan to value. The lower the loan to value, the better the rate. So we do have, if it's under 65% loan to value, you can do like possibly even prime -1 on the variable. But if it's the most expensive money right now is an 80% refinance. Okay, but it's still, I say most expensive, but it's still inexpensive. At the end of the day, instead of getting prime -90, you're doing prime -70. It's still a great rate, right? So we have to look at the overall picture. It's still a great rate, and it is good time to refinance. The equity is there. Like everybody's house is worth
Everybody's
more.
got
I mean,
equity
I
now.
have people, I mean, I'm sure I have clients that phone me and say, I bought my house 8 months ago. I'm like, yeah, no, wait, 8 months. But if someone, okay, so let's say somebody bought a house 8 months ago
They've made a lot.
and they made a lot of money.
Mhm.
But if the lenders typically want you to wait 1 year of owning a house before you refinance.
Okay.
But a way around that is if we can show them that the client has put money in and renovated the home, they will then take market value.
Okay.
So the client bought the house, let's say change their kitchen cupboards, change the bathroom, change their hardwood floors or something. If we can prove it, they will give us full market value. You can refinance the client. There's possibility.
All right. All right.
Mhm.
Anybody else online got another question? And the mortgage plus improvements, we get asked a lot about that from our clients because so many people are into doing like the flip they want to buy. How does that work exactly? Do they
Okay.
release the money a little bit at a time now, or?
No, what they do is this. So let's say your client buys a bungalow in Scarborough. A lot of homes, you're buying from older people and you have like, pink and green bathtubs. So they want to put some money into the house. But they don't have a lot of money, right? Like they bought the house maybe 5 or 10% down. They bought it for $1 million. I could do up to $50,000 per. So I can actually change. So we have a client buying a house for $1 million.
Mhm.
I can give them an extra 50,000 to do those renovations at the mortgage rates, right?
Okay.
So it's very inexpensive. The difference is this. If you want to do that, you have to go in with a contractor. It doesn't even have to be the contractor you're going to use at the end of the day, but you go in with a contractor. The contractor says it'll cost you, let's say 20,000 to change you this bathroom, 10,000 for the floors. And we get the deal approved and we change the purchase price from $1 million to $1,050,000, let's say potentially. Now, purchase plus improvements, it has to be under $1 million. My apologies. So you're buying something for $950 and go up to $99999. Okay. So what they do is the money is approved. The lawyer would actually have the funds potentially. That's what they give the money to the client's lawyer. Your client actually has to either fund it themselves with their line of credit or find a contractor, let's say a Home Depot where don't pay for 90 days or something. Or you find a contractor and say, look, my lawyer can attest that he has the money. Once the house is done, and these kind of renovations are probably like a 1 or 2 month kind of thing, right? We get an inspector to go out there and say, yes, they did the kitchen. Yes, they did the bathroom and the floors. And then then the lawyer can then release the funds directly to the contractor. Mm-hmm. So at least you don't have to worry about using your unsecured, more expensive, more, for cash flow, more expensive, for cost of borrowing, more expensive. We can group that into the mortgage. And typically it's about 50,000. I've done as high as 70, but it's typically around 50,000 pending purchase price that we can add to the purchase price.
Okay. And sorry, you said you had to get a contractor before so they can give you a quote?
We want to do a quote. So when
Okay.
you go in there, even if it might not be that same person. So if
Mhm.
you go in and you're like, okay, yes, they're putting an offer in, you can actually, I mean, a lot of people just know enough people that can just go in there and do a quick quote. And it's just a quote. It's not a formal invoice. It's nothing very formal. You know what? Approximate cost 10,000 for this, 20,000 for that, 10,000 for this. And then, and that can be, and then that's how we submit the deal to get approved with the insurer and the lender.
Okay.
What if you don't use all 50?
What if you don't use all 50 and you've
That's
got,
fine. You will use what you need to use. So if we approve you for 50 and then the job only costs you 35,000, they'll only advance a 35 though. They won't give you the extra 50, right? They won't give you the extra 15. So you have to show that it cost you that much money.
okay,
So yes, that's not a problem. They'll reduce that mortgage amount by that amount that you don't use. No problem.
okay. Good to know. Anybody have a question here?
How easy is it to access home equity if you're a co-signer?
You need both people to sign for it,
Yeah.
for the mortgage. Yeah, she was asking how easy is it to access home equity? Yeah, so,
Everybody on title must sign and acknowledge. Yeah. Everybody has to do that.
yeah, everybody
Okay,
has,
something else you might want to look at as well, though, is because now we have a lot of equity. So let's say you have two brothers that bought a house together,
Mhm.
and now they're at the age where one's getting married and the other one's, like they want to do their own lives kind of thing.
Mhm.
Well, we can actually it's a purchase. It's almost like a relationship breakdown. Okay. This could be between brothers, sisters, husband and wife. It could be any partnership. So one wants to buy out the other. We could refinance. You have to qualify for it, income, but you can actually, so you have two brothers that bought a property 2 years ago. You could actually refinance 95% of market value
Oh, okay,
and pay out the brother but you have to income qualify for that one
yeah,
on paper. So that is doable. So let's say you bought something 2 years ago and you put down 5%, two brothers, and then the one brother's like, I don't want to live with you anymore. So you could refinance 95% of market value and pay him out so he can go do his thing and you can do yours.
What if it's a house? What if it's a house that was bought about 5 years ago and has about 60-70% paid off? Like,
That's
would that
fine.
make it easier? Would that make it easier, or like?
It depends on how much money they want. But if it's a breakdown, okay, so you don't always have to go, so to get to 95%, it has to be insured, okay? If you don't need the equity to go to 95%, you don't have to. So you can just go to the 80 or 75. It just depends on how much money one has to pay out the other. So at the end of the day, we would just do a written agreement between two people and say, you know what, I own the house with Mr. Gray. I want to pay out, I want 180,000 to get out. So you don't have to refinance that high loan to value. You may only need to refinance, 80%, 75%, whatever.
Thank you. That's very
No
helpful.
problem. No problem at all.
anybody else? Now, if you're, I guess I was trying to think if you're moving in and you can use part of the rental income to boost your income, but are they
You
using
can.
other
Hold
properties
on.
to put it towards your income, right?
You can, as long as it's a self-contained separate unit.
Okay,
So if you have a basement apartment completely separate, a kitchen,
mhm.
okay, a
know
kitchen,
student
a
rentals, yeah.
bathroom, and you know what, an open kind of space, no bedroom even. You can do that. Yes, yes. So
Okay.
we can jack that up and say, you know what, on the A side, they use 50% of the rents
Okay,
for a basement apartment, which we can just drop a lease. On the B side, I have lenders up to 85%. So there's ways to do deals. Like on the B side, guys, I can potentially go to 35-year amortization. Let's say you have husband and wife buying a house and their income is not quite there. And their retired, 80-year-old mother lives with them. I can use her income and not put her on title.
Mhm.
As long as I can confirm that she is going to be living in that house. She is
Mhm.
not on title. She has nothing to do with the title or the mortgage, but I can use her income on the B side.
Mhm.
I can stretch the amortization. I have lenders who have allowed me to go up to 60% ratios to make the deals work.
Mhm.
So even though you might not think this is a perfect client, allow me, like let sit down with a mortgage broker and let them do the numbers. You'd be surprised of how lenders are really, really trying to do deals.
Mhm.
I do in the past, I do a lot of like okay, so last year I think I did 82 million myself, not my team, my own book of business. So I do a lot of volume. Okay. I think 23 million last year was private mortgages alone. And understand these private mortgages, like some of them are like 80,000, right? So there's some of them are small. This year, I gotta tell you, I don't even think I'm gonna do 10 million of private this year because lenders are really trying to be more creative and finding ways to get clients into the homes and making the deals work. There's no, like, why would I put someone into a 12% private mortgage when I can get them into, a lot of these lenders are doing 5.99 second mortgages as long as you qualify with certain things, right? So lenders are really trying to make things work.
And what about recreational mortgages, if that's what you want to purchase for investments, like Airbnb, like cottages? I know sometimes the banks sort of look at those a little tougher because, I mean, the recreational, a lot of people let them go if they can't afford them, right? So
Right,
like
right.
tougher with them if you want them as an investment.
Airbnb is not something most lenders will even touch.
But what if you're buying, I guess, yeah, if you're buying it, they're going to figure you're going to Airbnb it as an investment, right?
No,
So,
but you know what? Look, I mean, I own a cottage up north.
Yeah.
I mean, I could rent it out. People offer me money every day, truthfully.
Mhm. Me too.
So if you can buy a cottage and we put down the 20% and you don't need the rental income, then we don't use it and we're fine if you don't need to qualify for it.
Mhm.
But if you need a rental income, understand too, I mean, you guys understand the game. Like you can do a lease up. Like, I mean, I have a few clients of mine who own a few cottages and they rent them by the week.
Mhm.
And some of them are going for like $3,000 a week.
I just heard someone tell me they got 7,000 a week just 2 days ago
Gee,
from their cottage in Muskoka. So
it's
I believe it.
unbelievable. Yeah, I believe it too.
Mhm.
So like 3,000 a week, like, oh my God, even if I rent it for 4 months out of the year, it covers, right? But
Yeah.
lenders, unless they see a lease in place,
Mhm.
they won't take that income into consideration because it's unknown.
Yeah.
And does it make sense? No, because you can drop a lease at $2,000 a month and the tenant can leave tomorrow, right? Whatever. That's their reasoning. So we got to give them what they want to see.
Exactly.
Okay. To make the deal work.
Anybody else got any questions? What are we looking at minimum credit scores you can work with? You said you can work with bruised credit. What do you consider bruised?
Okay, credit score is from 300 to 900. Okay. I'll do your deal if you have 301. I don't care. As long as it makes sense, I can do your deal. I don't care what the credit score is.
That's all
You
I
know
like.
what? We're gonna ask questions, but we can do it. So
You might have a lot of people calling you from our
I know.
office.
And you know what? You have to look at this. The shittier the credit, the more, hair and teeth in a deal,
Mhm.
possibly the bigger down payment too, right? So, you might not be able to get, well, you won't be able to get at okay, maybe a 10% down or 20% down, but you know what? We might be able to get you in the house. And you know what? I also have a credit counseling company that can help you. So you're here today, you do A, B, and C. I promise you 6 months, a year, pending on how involved their debt is, you will be where you want to be.
Mhm.
Let me get you into the house today and I will hold your hand and get you to the credit where you need to be to go from like a private lender potentially into like the B space. Like the B space right now, I think the best B rate I have today, if you have a decent, everything is pretty decent, is like 2.59%. You cannot have done, I don't even want to see your income taxes. I don't care who you owe, what you owe. You show $1 to Revenue Canada. I don't care. If you can show me 6 months of bank statements and I can justify your deposits via, let's say, invoices or confirming that you've earned that income, I will make the deal work. Okay.
Good to know. Good to know.
I told you, creative.
Like
I've been doing this for forever, so.
I know you have, and you're good.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we have a lot of people in our office. We have over 100 agents now, and
Right.
so we only have about 20 present with us in total
Right.
now. But
Right.
I think you'll be getting a lot of phone calls from the office.
Well, I look forward to it. And like I said, no questions, stupid, anything you guys want, even if it's, like I said, for yourselves, for your clients, whatever it is. And if you're just inquiring, we're here, we're able. So on my team, so I do have a few underwriters that work for me. I have assistants, I have a bookkeeper, and I have 26 agents that work for me. So if I'm at capacity which is never a problem, because usually I look the part, right? So I do all the fun stuff and then I pass everything else to my girls. So you're always welcome to reach out to me, and we're here to help any which way we can. And maybe one day, like I said, I have no problem coming into the office when things are all a little bit better, and maybe do things like maybe talk about reverse mortgages, right? Like maybe say to your clients, you know what? I'll do one little last thing. I'm sorry, you guys probably have to run as well.
Okay.
You're okay?
Yep.
Okay. So let's say you have an older client and they have $100,000 mortgage and they live in a house worth $1 million, right? And they want to stay in their house. They really don't want to move. At the end of the day, that house will be worth more than if they downsize into a condo, right? In 5 years. That's what it is. So we want you to stay in your house. I just can't afford to stay in my house. I need some cash flow. So what we want to do is you can do a reverse mortgage. I can take that payment away for them. Okay. So let's say on 100,000, they might have an $800 payment, but you know what? If it's only one person, let's say the lady's husband died, because us women outlive you all anyway. So, but you know what? You have no work pension. You only have CPP and OAS. Like, what are you making? You can barely survive. So I can take that $800 payment away for you. And now they're like, okay, $800. Now I can actually eat, right? But not only that, you have a lot of equity, lady. And you know what? Your chances are your kids will make more money than you'll ever make. So why not live a little? Why not? Maybe you need something to help you go up and down the stairs and you want to renovate your bathroom so that you're more conducive to your physical being. I can give you the money and it won't cost you anything. Let's go one step further. Why don't I actually give you enough money to buy another rental property? And now you can positive cash flow, because I won't take rental income. I won't take a mortgage payment from either one. And now you can actually make some money in your hands and just be more comfortable in life. So there's a lot of different kind of options. I have mortgages with interest only. So if your client wants to buy something where they want to pay minimum, right? It's all deductible anyways. I have interest only mortgages. So there's a lot of different kind of options. It's not just black and white. That's why I say to you, you have to get in front of someone who really understands. Look, you come in here, and like I said, you work at Bell, you work at Rogers, your credit's 740, you got, 10% your parents gave you as a gift. You go in, buy a house, that's fine. I can, that's fine. You do those and I do those, no problem. The biggest thing is we get them the best possible rate. But when you really have to be creative and figure out how to put things together, that's what we're here. That's why you want an experienced mortgage broker who has the ability and has the thorough knowledge overall. I'm a CFP designee. Okay. So I have a lot of designations. I love the mortgage game. So this is where I choose to be. But I have a lot of knowledge. RSPs. Okay. You know what? I know how to take out, what to put out, tax brackets. I'm not an accountant, but I know quite a bit. I'm not a lawyer, but I know quite a bit. So I make it a point to know a little bit about everything to be able to put that situation for yourselves and your clients in the, in the right light.
For sure.
Yay.
Very good. Anybody else got a question before we let Miss Ann go? Everybody good?
There's a chat. I'm not sure. I just see something that says chat.
No, I know it was me. Somebody was asking me a
okay,
question,
perfect,
and yeah,
perfect.
we were just replying. They were asking for your contact details there, so I said for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
I'm going to take this recording. I usually ship it out to the office, so I'll put the
Excellent.
contact info in that email.
Perfect.
And thank you so much for coming.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you all very much. 7:20. Well, you know what? Enjoy your weekend because I'm leaving tomorrow morning for my place up north. But like I said, I'm always accessible. It doesn't matter where I work, right?
Me
Just
too.
same thing with you guys. I'm accessible. Reach out to me. When you reach out, let me know where you're coming from, so I have so we know exactly where it is. And like I said, thank you once again, Christy. I appreciate you getting me involved, and we will talk again soon. And anyone that needs me, please feel free.
Absolutely.
Thank
so
you,
much,
guys.
Enjoy your cottage weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.